I did a video, I don't know if you guys all saw it, why people whiff buttons in neutral and how they set up baits and how whiffing can create opportunities. And I figured I would expand because I got a response. When whiff recovery in Strive is so good, streamer recommends you use whiffing to bait people into thinking they can approach. I assume you haven't played very many fighting games by this comment alone. At level 1, important thing to know, Strive has lots of moves that are easy to whiff punish, right? But also has lots of moves that are really hard to whiff punish. It's not one of the fastest games, I don't think. There's lots of games that are even faster. In Street Fighter 6 or 5 or whatever Street Fighter game you're gonna play, a very common strategy is to whiff a move, and then when your opponent tries to whiff punish that move, you just hit it again, and their whiff punish is too slow, and you punish them trying to catch your whiff. And they did this a long time with Karen, is they would walk up and hit standing medium kick or something, and it would whiff, and then they would just hit standing medium punch after, buffer it into Tenko, and just kill you. How often have you seen a Soul player in Exer do 6p, it whiffs, do 6p again, and then it just counter, and then they just do your whole ass life bar? It's gotta be like a million, right? You know how many times May has done 6p in the old games, and then I try to whiff punish her 6p, and then she does 6p again, and I lose the round? I get stunned. Super Turbo Ken Jab DP is 30 years old.
Nice uppercut.
30 years from now, it'll still be happening. It's not like it got invented in Guilty Gear Strive. People didn't start to realize, hey, moves in this game recover fast. We should use them. And if you think it's a new strategy in Guilty Gear, then you probably don't know much about how fighting games work since the beginning. So because of that, it's probably something that will apply to your game plan and help you out a lot, right? Now I got another response, and this actually is an interesting one. I feel like the only way this idea works is if the opponent expects that they should be able to whiff punish it. Let's just think about that. If they think to themselves, oh, that button's too fast, I can't whiff punish it. You can whiff that button in neutral and you're just vibing, aren't you? If your opponent has no response to it, you could just hit that button and there's no downside. Either it hits them and you're chilling, or it doesn't hit them and you're still chilling, right? Isn't that good? The second thing is, otherwise it's just preemptive buttons in neutral. Yeah, I mean, you know, if you're whiffing before your opponent does stuff, it's preemptive, of course. Pre-nerf Nago just doing 2S over and over and over because the button had K button recovery. I wouldn't exactly consider that baiting since everyone knew the move was essentially impossible to whiff punish. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I have seen Nago 2S, 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 2S hit so many people. I've seen it hit like the best players in the world. What do people do when they see Nago just doing 2S, 2S like that and stuff, right? The answer is they don't just sit there and go like, there's nothing I can do, it's over. What people do is if you aren't able to whiff punish the move, they will pick something from farther away to beat the button. Or they go back to using like a fireball, or they use movement. You can dash in and hit your far slash or your 2S or whatever. IED at it, or empty jump at it, or jump and try to bait something. They look to give the Nago player something juicy to do instead of 2S. And then when the Nago player tries that, you counter it. His whiffs are creating a response from the opponent. And if you can force a response from your opponent in neutral, you're creating something where they will do one of a couple options to beat what you're trying to do. And you have the upper hand because you've whiffed, you've created something that they are going to try to capitalize on, and now they'll attack you. In fast games, most moves are not whiff punishable. If someone whiffs, you still take advantage of the whiff by using movement, by doing your own big attack that takes up the whole screen and calling your assist or whatever. It's the same thing. It doesn't matter whether the game is fast or slow. When Street Fighter 6 comes out, you will see how often I talk about people whiffing something and then buffering a button after. When we watch Project L, someone's gonna whiff something with an assist and then someone else is gonna dash in for pressure and then do a cross up plus assist, and you're like, yep, they whiff something, so you take advantage. We'll be talking about this 5 years from now, 10 years from now. This is a very common way to engage with another person in neutral. Most of the time when you play in this style where you're the one whiffing button into button or playing preemptively like this, it's like kind of the lazy person's way to play. Like you just let the other person have to do the hard part, which is like actually punish you for whiffing. It's like a much more difficult job to be the person who's actually being a responsible adult whiff punishing or using your movement to create openings versus the other person who's just swinging. Listen. I was playing Super Noon. Someone in my YouTube comments were like, bro, you DP every time there's a knockdown. For the record, Super Noon was like the #1 Bridget on rating update. I DP'd every time and it hit every time. I don't know what to tell you. This shit's not real. It's not a real safe jump. I don't believe it. People just don't do it right. They don't time it right. So I just DP it. I'm like, fuck it. But I also don't give a fuck if Bridget hits me, is the truth.